That is why marriage as a romantic system or dynamic to enter into as an adult is no longer attractive. Welcome to my YouTube channel, PhD Chats. You clicked on the link when you didn't have to, and for that, I am grateful. Subscribers, thank you for keeping the conversation going. And if this is your first time at Chats with Petal, get ready to ponder, heal, and dream. People are less and less interested in doing that because they do not see the benefit of transitioning from being in a healthy relationship dynamic to being in a healthy relationship dynamic with a piece of paper that keeps them together. Because that isn't what should anchor you there, right? It is a safety net. People are less likely to walk away from marriages, not because they really want to stay or because they believe that there's hope, but simply because the legal process of divorce is very scary and daunting. And so that is what anchors people there. It's just like you have a home, you want to sell it, but the process, you kind of just stay where you are, right? It is a barrier to giving up. And so that safety net kind of keeps the relationship there, and it increases the possibility that there will be a reconciliation and the relationship will heal. But in some cases, people just rest on that alone. And that is not what a marriage is. You know, people ask me all the time, they say, how long have you been married? And I say 20 years, and they say, wow, that doesn't mean anything. What if I had 20 years of misery? Actually 21 in August, but it doesn't mean that it's 20 happy years, right? What really should be the question is, what makes your marriage work? How do you guys overcome those times where there's a difficult decision to be made or there's an impasse? How do you approach betrayal? What role does forgiveness play? What are the strategies that you guys use to compromise? What is the best part? What brings you joy in your partner? What is the thing you guys enjoy doing together most? That's what should matter. But we are so conditioned for that to be the gold standard. We want it to be married, and then we just forget what is really going on, what really matters. And people who are outside and watching, they see. They know exactly what's happening because they immediately recognize that that is not what makes a marriage work. It's not that piece of paper. It's not that piece of paper at all. A good friend of mine, her parents got married when they were very young, and they had her. They were made to get married. So her mom was a pregnant bride, and within 2 years, the relationship ended. But this is in the Caribbean, 35, 40 years ago. People didn't really actually get divorced on paper. So mom moved on, dad moved on. And so as far as she can remember, she's had a stepmom and a stepdad, right? Her parents had other romantic partners. They were lifelong partners. They were together for 30, 40 years. That's the only dynamic she remembers. She was too young to remember her parents being a couple. But when her biological dad passed away, the pastor would not put her stepmom's name in the program. Her mother was absolutely fine with it. They wanted her and her step siblings were like, that was my dad's wife. The pastor would not put it in the program. He would not do the funeral. When he says left to mourn, wife, he told them that they can't put it there. I believe the reason that he had that much power was because the funeral, the minister, everything kind of came in one. The program was all part of the package, I guess. So the church said no, they're not putting her name as his wife, because the woman that he left 40 years ago but is still married on paper, they're going to put leave to mourn. Mind you, this woman has a lifelong partner who is completely being erased from the situation and completely unacknowledged. And her mom was fine. She's like, listen, this is, we have a child together, but we've been in relationships. I know this woman. She's raised my daughter with me. I respect her. I honor her. Put common law, put something on there. Big confusion. That's because even in, more so in religious spaces, we have anchored ourselves to the shell. We have put an importance on the shell. I mean, I can tell you a lot of stories, especially in spiritual spaces, a lot of stories in social spaces where people are not interested in the quality of your relationship. They're just interested in the social status that you're married and people see you as a husband and wife. And divorce is so scary. It's scary for the two people involved. It's scary for people around them. And people would rather stay in that empty shell than to step out of that and to recognize that the real core of my marriage is gone because the substance of it is not there. And people will shun and look down at people who have all the substance and who have met all the criteria of a healthy relationship dynamic, who are raising balanced, emotionally secure children in beautiful homes, and who are sustaining each other and giving and receiving, and there's a healthy level of reciprocity. That will be dismissed because it doesn't fit the status quo. So there are some key takeaways I hope that you got from this message. How do you guys, overcome those times where there's a difficult decision to be made or there's an impasse? How do you approach betrayal? What role does forgiveness play? What are the strategies that you guys use to compromise? What is the best part? What brings you joy in your partner? What is the thing you guys enjoy doing together most? That's what should matter.